Popcorn world. Popcorn world. Yeah. Can I make you groove now? Yes, I can. So you can get this groove in the back of a can. But to make it rhyme and groove and the holes in your hand. Popcorn world. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. I said popcorn make you smile. Ah. Popcorn world. Popcorn world. Popcorn world. Popcorn world. The popcorn world.
Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your man, Lloyd Spence, and find all of the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including NBA Summer League, Major League Baseball, and the latest fighting news, and even next season's early NFL futures, all at betonline.ag. Here's what you got to do. Head to the website and use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BLEAV to get the bonus to get into the action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Tell them. Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting
the ACC. Heisman Trophy winner and Florida State legend, Mr. Charlie Ward. Wave 3 TV and Burn Creek Hall of Famer, Kendrick Haskins. And Mr. Talking Noise himself, and of course Mama Noise's name, Lloyd Spence. And now, it's time for BLEAV in the ACC.
You know, the best part of being on this show is the wonderful camaraderie and flexibility of our championship team here, and I appreciate them being flexible so that I can properly take care of my 98-year-old grandmother yesterday. And so we are here, BLEAV in the ACC. That is Kendrick Haskins over there with the classic Chico's Bell Bond shirt. Classic. I mean, you can't do much better than that. That's
Kelly Leak.
Can't do much better than the Bad News Bears. What we talking about right now? And then, of course, that is Mr. Heisman Trophy and Mr. Heisman House. Now, he got a new moniker, Mr. Charlie Ward,
and state
Junior.
championship coach.
Right. But that's Charlie Ward Jr.
Coach Junior.
And we have to emphasize that specifically today because because he himself is in the presence of greatness.
Yeah, Coach Senior.
Right. So he can't be the #1 Charlie Ward today. He is really #2 today.
Well, I'm always #2. That's why I'm junior. So I always have to understand and know where my place is.
Yeah, know your role, Charlie Ward. There you go. It's good to see you guys. How you feeling today?
Good. Sitting outside. It's nice.
I am not sitting outside. I
only got a short time frame before it gets 200 degrees out here.
I was going to say, we are sitting in the middle of an incredible heat wave right now. And I've the closest I'm going to do is sit. I'm in Arkansas. I'm close to my grandmother's porch. But that's about as close I'm going to get to outside. I'm not. This is fine right here. So Charlie Ward, dressed in his purple shirt, looking good, fresh off
Royal even.
Right, fresh off his Heisman House experience. We can't listen. We'll get to all the ACC stuff and Jim Phillips comments and all that. We'll get to all that. Y'all be patient. There's very much more important and pressing news going on, and that is that our brother Charlie Ward, who just left the Heisman house, we want to know what happened. How was the experience? Who you with? We want the
details.
We want the details, man.
He hasn't talked to you since, not even over text. So we need to know some stuff.
Well, listen, you can't listen. He was in his process, and you can't disturb a man when he's in his process. He's right. He's got to lock in, channel his inner character. What is his motivation?
The first most pressing question, though, Lloyd, is: did they think he was a mascot again?
Good question. Good question. Good way to start out.
Well, this time I didn't go in with a big bag, so so they didn't ask me if I was a mascot this time. So that was encouraging sign. But also, I wasn't the smallest guy there, so
no, you were not.
So that meant, I guess I kind of fit in this time around.
That's cool. That's cool.
They may have thought Kyler was somebody's child.
I was just going to ask you, are you able to reveal some of the people, much like a Madden rating, are you able to reveal some of the people that were in the room now?
I mean, it's quite a few quarterbacks that were shorter, that the same height as I was. So you're talking about Baker Mayfield and Bryce Young, Kyler Murray, being a few of the guys that were.
Oh yeah, Bryce Young's able to be in there now because of the NIL stuff.
Yes, and he did quite a few scenes, but his parents were there. Great people, awesome. Craig and Miss Julie, and so got a chance to hang out with them a little bit, find out how life is with a college student in the NIL world, which is a great deal for him and for him to be in that, to have that opportunity, but more importantly to be able to have his parents right there with him, because it's a lot, and they've actually moved from California to Birmingham.
Oh, wow.
to be a little bit closer. He's the only child as well, so to be a little bit closer, and so it was a good move for them and for him to be able to have that family support, to be able to talk through certain situations. It's good that you can be able to go home on a weekend or a day, because I think Birmingham's like an hour away from Tuscaloosa. Right. So,
right,
he's but he's doing well.
You said his family was there, because he's making a considerable amount of money with NIL. Like he's doing okay, better than most. Do you see? Is that good preparation, I guess, for his future? Because Bryce is going to be top 2-3 round pick, maybe first round pick, surefire first round pick, I would think. Do you think this is good preparation for his overall journey? Like now that because he's kind of one of the first guys we'll get a chance to see truly how the NIL college experience translates to the NFL experience, because some guys are overwhelmed by the money in it and it's all, but is he handling it well? Does he seem grounded and stuff?
Well, this dude, man, he's amazing, when it comes to just that part of it, because he's so laid back in a lot of ways, and so I think that plays a big part in how he handles. I mean, we saw it, you see it when he plays. He's that way in person. Really laid back, composed, and he takes everything in. And so this opportunity, the opportunities that he's grateful for. And that's the reason why, I think a lot of people like him and pull for him, because he's not what most people would think or he should be with his status. But it kind of reminds me a lot of the way I handle or the way I look in college. You're grateful for the opportunities, but if the opportunities like this didn't happen, you'll be okay as well, as long as you get an opportunity to do what you want to do. And so, yes, it's preparing him for a lot of different things after he finishes. But right now, he still has 1 year left of college,
Yeah.
And it's something that I think he's focusing on, because he was kind of not upset, but he was talking about missing, one workout, or he had to go and talk to his coach about missing a workout for the video shoot or commercial shoot. And I wouldn't say it was uncomfortable, but it was a situation where he'd only missed one workout the whole summer.
All right.
So it wasn't a big deal. But he was kind of talked about it, which means not that it kind of bothered him that he missed the workout because he's just that kind of team player.
I'm pretty sure Alabama's perfectly fine with him missing one workout to be on a national commercial that's going to get them more attention for recruiting.
I would think they've settled it. Yeah, I think they probably settled that in their hearts.
The coach was fine.
So who were the veterans there that were with you?
Well, the oldest guy that was there was Barry Sanders.
Oh, wow.
His son, BJ.
Barry, Lloyd.
Yeah, I heard that. I did hear it. I was going to save it to the end. I was just going to save it to the end, give him one big one and be done with it. But I definitely heard Barry. Hey, Barry. What's going on, buddy?
What do y'all call it?
What do you mean when we call Mr. Sanders is what we call him. Yeah.
Okay.
I certainly don't call him Barry.
Okay, Mr. Sanders.
Hello, Mr. Sanders.
But yeah, Barry was the oldest. Then you had Carson. Palmer.
Oh, wow, Carson made it in. Okay. He's
out in Idaho. Got an opportunity to meet his daughter. She's a equestrian on that one, I think. But he's coaching middle school football, coaching his son's middle school football team.
That's cool.
So that was, encouraging to see. Him doing that. And who else? Barry, Carlson. Then there's Timmy Tebow.
Okay.
RG3.
RG3 looks like he could still play.
He probably could.
Yeah, he still looks in great shape.
And Tebow, they all look like they're fit and trim and all those types of things. And then we had the mountain of a running back, Derrick Henry.
Was that your first time meeting Derrick Henry?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, of course not. Silly.
Right. I noticed that you called him Derrick Henry as opposed to Derrick. Did you guys not hit it off, or?
I've been calling everybody by their full names.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand. I just want to make sure there's no conflict, because that's not a guy I would want to have a conflict with. I would probably want to stay on the good side.
You can't even run away from him.
He's very funny though. Believe it or not,
I believe it.
He was funny, but he's huge.
Wow.
I mean, when I talk about huge, they had a bet on the set, behind the scenes anyway, on his size, because he was saying he was like 225 or something. And Tim Tebow was taking bets with everyone to see if he was, if he was under 225 or
There's no
or
way
higher.
But Derrick Henry can't be 225. There's no way.
It doesn't look like it, but if it is packed behind. It's like a rock. If it's 225.
Wow.
So, I mean, the dude is massive.
Were they able to settle the bet, or is this still?
I don't know.
I wouldn't imagine there was a scale just randomly available in the house.
It's a house. It is a house.
I'm not 100% sure if it was if the bet came to fruition, but all I know is the dude is huge.
Wow.
I mean, put together huge. So
put money on the over on that one.
I'll put money
Bet
on the
online,
over.
get on it.
BetOnline.ag. Just do that. We got the numbers. So how do you think the commercials turned out? Because you shot more than one, right?
Yes. I mean, I was in more than one scene. Very interesting. I'm interested to see how it turns out because a lot of times you don't shoot the whole thing at one time. There's a lot of editing, of course.
Sure.
Just like any process. But so you really never know how it's going to turn out. So I'm interested to see how it turns out. That's that way with all the pieces because they have you doing different things and you don't know which tape they're going to, put in that piece to make it work.
Right.
So that's why it's always interesting to see, how it all comes out. But I was just grateful to be in the room.
Was Lamar Jackson there? Because he's only been in a couple. He hadn't been in it.
No, he wasn't there.
Well, Lamar's busy. He's trying to negotiate his contract. So
apparently he's not negotiating. That's the problem.
That's the deception. I think Lamar is negotiating by not negotiating.
Yeah, right.
I think he's basically telling them, you already know what the number is. I'm waiting on you.
Right.
There was one guy that was there that cashed in.
Oh, yeah.
He cashed in yesterday.
Who Lamar is very grateful for because if he got that, Lamar is sure to get a very nice contract when this is all said and done. So he's
going to be up there in Deshaun Watson range.
I would think so. I would think he's going to be just a shade under Aaron Rodgers. But the big thing is it's probably going to be fully guaranteed. So that's awesome. So listen, Charlie Ward, we are so proud of you, man. This is incredible. I'll be sitting on pins and needles for the entirety of when this emerges. But of course, this is inevitable.
And that was a Charlie Ward humble flex.
Yeah, that was, you knew that was coming. You had to know.
The whole Barry thing. We let it slide because you just said Carson too.
Yeah, listen, I was aware though. I didn't miss it. I knew what was going on. But we are super proud of you, man. I cannot wait to see these commercials. Did any of the young guys get your number and like, hey man, can we keep in touch or whatever?
No, man. I was getting their numbers.
Okay.
Was you getting autographs? You didn't post any pictures. I noticed that. Is there an embargo on pictures right now?
Yes. I can't do pictures.
That's an embargo for right now?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, you gonna get the man kicked out the Heisman house, Ken. He just got back in the house.
There was an embargo.
He just got back in the house. You can have him booted out the house.
Last day we wanted him booted back out.
No, we don't. You got to stick around, Charlie. You got to stick around, bro.
I don't know. Hopefully, I did well enough to where they acted right.
There you go.
They want to get me back.
There you go. Well, we're gonna keep our campaign alive because we want you to stay in the house. So,
well, it was good also that I got a chance to do this. My wife, Tanja, went, so she got a chance to go on the set. She was more behind the scenes and did came a couple of times on the set. But my son Caleb, who's interested in film, he was able to get a lot of behind the scenes
Very
footage
nice.
and talked to a lot of the producers and just different people. So
Oh, that's huge for him.
it was a good experience for him to be there. And so it was, that's what it's about, being able to spread the love and opportunities. Never know.
No, you never. That's right. That's right. You never know. And I'm sure he was thrilled to just have the opportunity to
Right.
see how the process works. And by the way, if you've ever been on a set like that, it's a really long day because
Yeah.
it's a lot of hurry up and wait, and you just kind of standing around and stuff. People are moving
How
stuff.
long were your day? How long was your day, Charlie? Was it more than one day? Or was it just one day?
Yeah, it was 2 days. I mean, we were there for like 4 days, which 2 days were travel. But we were on this. I was on the set early Friday and left, I guess, early, which was there like 9 or something on Friday. No, 8 on Friday, and we left around 6. But only did like maybe 2 things that day.
Right. A lot of sitting around.
2.5 things, but the next day I had a lot of time that I was actually in. Like the morning, I only had 1 thing, and that was relatively short. But then in the afternoon, I was in like 3 or 4 scenes that they shot, and so it was really long, but they were short because they were all back to back to back.
Yeah.
So that was good.
Well, the good news about that a shoot like that is that it's in one location. So it's while you're moving and repositioning in that one location, that's kind of time consuming, but you're not having to literally get up and go somewhere. I've been on shoots where you have to leave one place and go across town to another place, and then you got to set up. And filming is people do not understand what it takes to really put even just a 30-second commercial together. It's not an easy process.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people involved in it, so that's all. Huh?
So there's quite a few people. I think
Yeah.
300 people.
The
300 workers.
The one music video set that I was on, it was all day out in the heat. And if you're not behind the scenes doing the actual work, you're just sitting there.
You're just sitting there. You're just sitting there waiting. And you have to sit there and wait, that's why people they get you a trailer, Charlie, because they normally have you sit in your trailer. Did you get
have your
offered a trailer?
Colored M&Ms.
Well, they had this was pretty good set where they actually rented out a neighborhood.
The whole neighborhood?
Not the whole. Yeah, it was a few houses in the neighborhood.
So you didn't have a trailer; you had a house.
And
shout out to Nissan.
That was a nice setup. I mean, it was a lot going on, but they had one of the houses was the wardrobe, and for all of us, the players and the mascots and families. They had we had a basement, so that's where we kind of hung out. That was the green room.
Yeah.
So it was a good setup.
Were there any ACC mascots there?
There was Albert,
The albatross,
Gator, Boomer. They had the Trojan. Is it Alfie, the elephant? Alabama?
I'm waiting on the Seminole.
No Seminole.
No Seminole.
Probably a little problematic.
And
that's cold blooded, man.
And we had Pistol Pete. Pistol Pete was there from Oklahoma State.
Well, he's still a problem too, but
and Oh,
I'd
the
imagine
Tiger.
the Clemson
Tiger.
Tiger was there.
No, the Tiger from Auburn.
Okay.
Audie. I think it's Audie.
But no
That's
Cardinal
cool.
bird.
No Cardinal
No,
bird. No.
no.
Didn't
So
make it. Didn't make the cut.
I think the Cardinal bird's been more
and
one of those
Harry.
commercials than Lamar had.
Harry was there. Georgia Bulldog. Harry.
Oh yeah. Well, he would have to be. He's the reigning national champion right now, so he would have to be announced. That's cool, man. All right. I guess
Fantastic, Charlie.
I guess we got to move on. Although I can talk about this Heisman House thing all day with you. You know that, right?
Of course, we super proud of you, Charlie, as always.
Always.
Appreciate you guys.
Always. Well, while you were away, furthering your filming career, all hell was
film career.
And your son's film career. All hell was breaking loose in college football, and this past week, I think it escalated to some degree. So earlier this week, the Big 12 and the Big 12 and the Pac-12 tried to come together in some conversations that didn't end well. Not contentious, but just were not able to really come to agreement on anything relative to how money would work and what, they just couldn't get that part of it worked out. So they both walked away from the table with nothing imminent, or at least publicly imminent, emerging, which led us into the ACC media day, which was a couple of days ago, and some very interesting comments, and some would even say controversial comments from emerging from the commissioner, Jim Phillips. He took a very...
What was controversial about it?
Well, people are saying he took a very, I wouldn't say nonchalant, but people walked away feeling as though he was kind of not really in the moment. Like he really didn't have a grasp of it.
People didn't feel good. They didn't come away feeling good about what he had to say. I watched most of it. I was kind of lukewarm on it. I wasn't as far left of, as far as negative about it as a lot of people.
I wasn't either.
Yeah. So this is my thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have anything definitive, then you say what he said, because he doesn't have anything definitive. What people want to do is try to pigeonhole you into saying something that's not true. And so all the things that he said was relatively true. Like, they are talking, the door is open, and he used those words, which that's what's going on. And so he doesn't have anything definitive right now to be able to share.
I think that's what people's issue is. I'm not necessarily that's what I'm saying. That's just what I've gathered from reading a lot of the comments, is like, because they're not necessarily definitive, but like it just feels like the ACC is behind.
Well, let's just call it what it is. Let's just call it what it is, Kendrick and Charlie. There is a true fear right now that the ACC is probably the target conference that won't survive what is taking place, because their key components are poachable, or in their mind, or in most people's minds, poachable. That would be Clemson, that would be Florida State, that would be Miami, and the whatever alliteration Notre Dame is to the ACC. People feel as though those schools are poachable. And I think the fear is, if any of those schools at any point in the next 30 to 60 days were to say, hey, we made a decision, that would signal the collapse of the ACC as a whole. So I'd love to get you guys' thoughts on that.
Again,
I see Miami doing that eventually. Clemson and Florida State, I kind of can see them being loyal a little bit more. And not saying, and that's not even to discourage Miami. I can just see Miami make a jump before anybody.
But
Okay.
if that happens, I mean, at this point, they would have to pay a, a boatload of money to get out of a
Right.
contract. That's one.
Right.
And two, if it does happen, it's not going to happen within the next year. So that's my whole thing with people always wanting to be behind the curtain. If you're not behind the curtain, we always want to know what's going on. And if no one, if Jim Phillips would have came out and said, we're talking to these certain teams and blah, 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 everybody would have been great about it. But of course, it would have been a breach of contract or all these other things that he has going on with the people that he's talking to. And so that is part of just the unknown, which we all want to know. Like, why didn't you say X, Y, Z? Well, you can't say it because there are other things that's going on.
Right.
So when people start, I thought he acknowledged everything. Like, he acknowledged that the ACC's behind. There's a gap, and it's growing wider. And he's like, we're working to try to see how we can close that gap.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And what have you. So it's not like he didn't acknowledge that that there's not an issue. He acknowledged it.
But I think, go ahead.
I think the first thing they need to do, which I'm sure they probably are doing, but first thing they need to really do is revisit their contract with ESPN. From everything I've heard, they've got the worst contract of all of the conferences anyway. Need to visit that, and then hypothetically, if they do expand, I think you have to go after UCF. UCF is going to. I think they're going to be the big winner out of all of this stuff, because they're going to be in a major conference just because their alumni base is so big. I think they have the biggest alumni base in the state of Florida, and the city of Orlando seems to be growing exponentially. So I think UCF, the ACC would really benefit from going after UCF, whoever, because they're going to land in a major conference.
Well, the one thing about the comments that was interesting to me was his analogy of taking care of all the neighborhoods, which to me was him talking and tilting maybe his hand a little bit to say, we gotta not, we understand where this is, but we also understand the danger of where this is. And I think there was some truth in what Jim Phillips said, in that, listen, mid-majors are going to tumble. There's no way for mid-majors to survive this unless they jumped in the boat with somebody right now. So to your point, Kendrick, a team like UCF is perfect for a move, and pride for a move. I mean, it's they got everything. The UCF is, if you've been to the school or seen it, you already know they are prime for this. They're the perfect candidate to make this move. And there's some others out there in the general vicinity of where ACC schools are that could make this jump and it be a reasonably seamless transition. Now, does it strengthen the ACC? Maybe not in the short term, but in the longer, bigger scheme of things, possibly. Because I do believe UCF is a coach away from being a real powerhouse player in all this, because they have all the resources. This is a huge school. I don't think the normal fan understands when they hear Central Florida. They don't get, and unless you've been down there, you probably wouldn't get it. But this is a massive. It's one of the biggest schools in the country, and so
they have a rabid fan base.
They have a rabid fan base. I would dare to say Central Florida is the new Marshall. If you remember how great Marshall was back in the day, Central Florida is that on steroids. So they have all of the pieces to become a major player. Now the question is, can the ACC bring in somebody like that while simultaneously aligning themselves with the right partner? And maybe the blessing in disguise this week was that the Big 12 Pac-12 conversation did not go as well as it could have. And to your point, Kendrick, that the money currently being offered the ACC is not quite where it needs to be. Because now, if I'm the ACC, I go to the Big 12 and say, hey, let's have a real conversation. Because to me, it makes more sense logistically and practically, especially with the bringing on of South Florida and Oklahoma, not Oklahoma, but Cincinnati, bringing those teams on. Now you can kind of merge that, and logistically, it makes a little more sense to bring those teams together than it does Big 12 and Pac-12, where that's a logistical nightmare.
Well, Central Florida is going to the Big 12, right?
I thought Central Florida was prime for somebody else. I thought they were just kind of on. I thought it was South. I could be wrong. You could be right,
Central Florida is going to the Big 12 whenever they made the transition. It was Central Florida, Cincinnati,
right?
BYU,
which makes no sense, by the way.
And there was a fourth team.
I was thinking South Florida too, but it might be Central.
I thought it was South Florida. Okay, so
I might be wrong though.
It's Central Florida.
Internet machines in our pockets.
Yeah, Central Florida is going to the Big 12.
So with that being said, then again, it makes sense for the ACC to say, "Hey, we need to talk." Then that to me is the most logical move and keeps the strength of what they're trying to accomplish ultimately in the moment.
But that is what Jim Phillips said. He said we are. I mean, we're working. We're working to try to close the gap in whatever way. He didn't give specific schools that they were talking to, but
the biggest thing is trying to get Notre Dame. They have to get Notre Dame.
That was the thing that he did mention as well. That he had his kids there, he worked there, so he knows the people there, and I'm sure he's been talking to them. That is one of the biggest things in trying to get them a part of the ACC because they want to remain, and they're part of ACC. Everything except for football, and that's the only big thing right now where they're independent. And the reason they want to be independent is because they're making so much money. They probably want to be like the Longhorn Network if they join the ACC. And I'm not sure if they're ready to give up that piece of it. But if that's going to give them opportunity to be a part of the ACC, I already said it. NBC should strike a deal with NBC. They can still have NBC and ESPN on certain games to be a part of, to build that network.
I mean, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea for NBC to pair with the ACC anyway. You get the Peacock network. You can put a lot of those games on Peacock.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they're already putting some Notre Dame games on there anyway. The whole streaming component is a whole other entity in itself. And so I said they were already putting Notre Dame games on there anyway. Maybe the ACC is in talks with NBC. Maybe that's how they can make it work with Notre Dame. But I don't know. NBC's, if you look at their sports outside of football and the Olympics.
Yeah, I don't know. If it wasn't the Sunday football, I'm not sure what NBC would be doing. Houston was that fourth team we were all trying to think of. Yeah. But I think it would be a good fit to pull those two conferences together. Because that'd be something.
You're talking about the ACC and Big 12?
Yeah, I think that makes more sense than any. I know the 16 because the Big 12 doesn't really want all those teams, the Pac-12 teams. What they really want is Arizona State.
They want Oregon,
right? And they want Oregon. So those things can still happen without merging the entire Pac-12. But then if you merge with the ACC, now you've got enough strong media markets to be able to go and command the type of deal financially you want from wherever you want it from. Like you said, Peacock, and you're right. Pulling in Notre Dame, it makes the most sense because they've got that relationship. And I would imagine NBC slash Comcast would roll out the Brinks truck to have all of those phenomenal games across the country like that. To be able to have that and capture those markets would be a big deal. Because they need something.
I don't know how many, if you're really looking for being honest, I don't know how many of those games are phenomenal.
You don't think that would be some good games?
There'll be some good games, but
I'm saying ACC Big 12 merger.
I mean,
not necessarily in its alliteration now, but like an eight.
Standing in line for that Kansas Duke Saturday game at noon.
maybe not Kansas Duke. Okay, that might be one I would sit out. But I'd like to see a Notre Dame Clemson. I'd like to see a Clemson Arizona. I think that'd be
basketball wise. I mean, it would be amazing.
Oh, listen, basketball would be the biggest winner from a Big 12.
I mean, you get Kansas, Texas Tech, Duke,
Carolina,
Florida State.
But
yeah,
I mean, Oregon. You can get Oregon in there too. BYU, Cincinnati. Yeah, there's a lot of good basketball programs.
But I mean, it's all said and done. Everyone will have the same amount of great games, probably, and amount of bad games because every league has the same group. Yeah. You have your top tier teams that everyone wants to see each and every week, in every a league, and there's some Saturdays, and I'm sure they would stack the schedule to where they will have quality games.
You wouldn't want to get excited, Charlie, on that Saturday when Missouri and Vanderbilt play.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's my point.
Yeah.
Every league has those types of games. Now, the Missouri and Vanderbilt alumni would love it.
Right.
But as far as a national stage, you're going to put those games that you want to showcase on those national stages.
Yeah.
That's what every CBS, SEC, they're not putting what you just the game that you just talked about on CBS.
I was thinking Ole Miss Vanderbilt, but same thing. You get the point.
Yeah, they on CBS. They're on CBS Sports.
Right.
They're not on CBS.
And maybe is there a CBS 2? I don't know if there's a CBS 2, but
CBS Sports.
CBS Sports Network probably would carry Vanderbilt, Missouri.
Yeah,
they got to fill the time. But Charlie, I do want to ask this question because Kendrick and I got into this a little bit last week. Where do you think this is ultimately going? Like, is this in 5 years or 7 years or whatever this is? Are we basically looking at the complete demise of the current look of the NCAA? Is that what this is really headed towards, where these Power 5 conferences or whatever alliteration this unfolds to be are going to now say, we don't need you, NCAA. Go govern these mid-majors. We'll just do our own thing. At least in football, anyway.
See, the thing I have a tough time with is I understand the separation of football, which is they're already kind of separated. Right. They just have to abide by the NCAA rules as far as, the governance part. But on-field type stuff, like their own tournament, and they have that part of it. But to separate football from all the other sports like people have been talking about, I don't think that's going to work because of Title IX. Because the football department is a part of a school, not an isolated deal. Like they're not have their own facility, which some schools do have their own facility, but it's on the campus. Mm-hmm. And so I don't see that part happening.
And
go ahead.
y'all got my mind like going to think about the matchup that could happen. You know, you just mentioned Title IX. You imagine ACC Big 12 merger where you have Baylor, uh, NC State, and Louisville in the same women's basketball conference.
It'd be amazing. Be amazing.
Off the chain.
The women's basketball would be maybe the biggest winner of all in all of this.
Yeah, I mean those Baylor Louisville matchups. I mean,
I could see mergers happening. You know, closer to proximity than anything else.
No sense.
Yes, I could see that part happening, and then you know having like when it's all said and done, like 3 divisions or 3 leagues that you can pull from to get a 12-team playoff in some form or fashion.
I'd like to see Memphis fall somewhere in there too. Listen, good market, good program. I'd like to see it fall somewhere.
What is not being talked about, and I've been following, is it's not just the FBS that's talking about this realignment. Jackson State,
I saw that.
Deion's been talking about it. The SWAC just came out with a statement about possibly one day, you know, being in a different grouping as opposed to where they are right now. And so all those things I think people are talking about, which I could see SWAC teams joining, you know, like one of those other tier, Coastal Carolina, those types of schools compete, you know, at that level. And so that's something that it should be talked about as well. And I know it's been talked about.
Like maybe like Conference USA could be a good landing spot for that. What is Coastal Carolina in? What is their
gosh.
Man, there's so many. I don't know. They
Yeah.
got so many of the AAF and I mean AAC.
American. AC. I don't know.
I think the biggest reason why the SWAC needs to do something is because you've got to get HBCU teams away from the novelty thought process. Like this is not just we're just not. Deion is trying to get people away from you just came to see the band. Like there is quality football being played in some of these schools. Now we're not all the way across the board there yet, but we're moving there. I think the last 5 years have moved considerably the needle. And now that you got guys like Eddie George and Hugh Jackson and Deion going to these schools, we're saying this is not a novelty act anymore. It's not just we're just the warm-up act to the band. There is good football being played and quality football at a high level. So let's create something that looks more in alignment with where college football is going.
And the time to strike is now while the iron's hot.
Very much so.
TCUs they're getting as much attention now as I can ever remember. Maybe going back to the 90s when there was a big, you know, everybody had on their Grambling hoodies and all that stuff. But the iron's hot right now, and I think it would benefit both. You know, like I said, Conference USA, for example, because a lot of the HBCUs are in the same region as the Conference USA schools. I mean, that would be big for Conference USA to add these HBCU schools. Would be big for those schools. I mean, I feel like it's a great idea. I don't know if it's in the works, but it just feels like a natural fit. Just looking at it from the outside looking in.
I'm sure I know they're talking to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
as weird as this might sound, I'd like to propose something to you, gentlemen. Is there a possibility in the emergence of all this that we could have, as weird as this is going to be a weird proposal, but I think stay with me here. a high school model for college sports. So what I mean is there's a 6A thought process where this group competes for this national championship, then the next group competes for the next national championship, and so on and so forth. So that mid majors are not completely lost, because I think that model would allow those mid majors to then go get those TV contracts. Like if you had a SWAC Conference USA merger, I'd still, as a consumer, be engaged in wanting to see that next tier championship. Like, like what we are now in high school sports, like, the 1A, the 2A, the 3A, the 4A, whatever it is. So if there was a model that fits something similarly to where you still get to see quality football, just maybe not the highest level, but it's still very good competition and interesting competition.
I think competitively, it makes sense. And it's a good plan. It's a good idea. I don't know, where it would stand, but I do like that idea.
Yeah.
And then eliminate the then you could also wrap in the 1-2A schools, kind of sort of, they could fall into that mix as well. Some, and now you see the tiered model just in football, because everything else is fine. I think we're okay with everything else, but in football for sure you could have that tiered model. Charlie Ward, being a high school championship basketball coach, is this something you would approve of?
The only issue with just one sport is that's not the way it is right now.
Right.
And so what I mean by that is, if Florida State is ACC, so they are in Division One, FBS, whatever you want to call them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you try to take football and put them in a different category and try to leave all the other sports, it would be difficult to make it work. If you understand what I'm saying. Like, you can't have football in 2A and all the other sports in 1A. When it comes to that happens in a high school model.
Some of their sports now.
Say again?
I want to say Kentucky and Louisville in field hockey maybe might be the same conference, and it's not going to be the ACC specialty.
Well, field hockey, I mean, that's,
I'm just talking about
you can have those. You can have those. I think those sports that may not be governed by the conference per se.
Okay, so then let's expand it then. Should we have maybe, okay, so let's do this. Is the NCAA's way of saving itself a model that possibly fits this thing? Because now they can come back to all of the schools and say, okay, guys, let's slow down a little bit. How about we do this? How about we tier out tier you guys out and realign? We will realign you based on resource, based on, we find the criteria, we define what the criteria is of putting you where you are, but size could be a factor or whatever, and create a better competitive balance amidst all NCAA. And maybe they're the ones that need to spearhead that and make that happen.
Now, I mean, I can see that if the NCAA would say, since they are over the NCAA basketball tournament,
mm-hmm.
and all the tournaments that they run currently, I can see them saying that for that group. But as you mentioned, for football, maybe they need a new commissioner, someone that can oversee that department and tier the schools out that way. So I can see that happening.
Which
I nominate Kurt for football and Jay Billis for basketball.
I'd be okay with that nomination.
Who?
Are we using parliamentary rules? Because I'd second that nomination.
Who for football?
Kirk Herbstreit.
Oh. Yeah.
Definitely Jay Billis needs to oversee basketball. That's gotta happen. Although Jay could oversee the whole thing.
He can oversee the whole thing, actually.
Yeah, he's so smart. He can see the whole thing. And that conference thing was going to kill me, so I had to look it up. It was Coastal Carolina's in Sunbelt.
Oh, yeah.
Conference USA, they're all in those same general areas that the SWAC schools are in. But yeah,
exactly.
I think that merger would be nice.
Exactly. Well, listen, this is a fascinating situation. It there seems to be no end in sight. Something is going to ultimately going to climax to something very intense at some point because it's inevitable. It's just there's so much money, there's so many opportunities now with so many streaming services. It's going to be interesting to see how this works and how this unfolds.
I'll be interested to see if we get to a point where if a team's not performing. Not to keep picking on Vanderbilt, but if they're not performing, you got a team that's in one of these other conferences that can perform. Will we start seeing shifting and stuff like that? I'd be interested. I think that'd be fun. Try to do soccer over in Europe.
Well, you're only as strong as your weakest link, and like it does feel like we're picking on Vanderbilt now. Now I feel like we're the bullies in the lunchroom, but. Vanderbilt does not move the needle. So do you replace a Vanderbilt with a more functional, competitive team?
So TV, you think TV rather have Vanderbilt or Florida State SEC?
Okay, so
yeah.
So that is the other thing that I think we're missing that Jim Phillips talked about. And we're just talking about football being like the bell cow, but he was talking about the other sports makes up, we got to think about that as well. And a lot of times when we're talking about this realignment, we're not even mentioning the other sports. I understand the football part. Everyone's, as Deion said, is chasing the bag. Which that's what it's all about. It has nothing to do with trying to win a championship, or none of that.
Right.
It's all about how much money can we get out of this deal. And that's the reason why schools are leaving, jumping ship to go get more money, which, who doesn't do that today and just in life in general? However, the other sports a lot of times don't even get thought about.
Right.
Like in this whole deal of realignment, because they feel like, well, if we can make $100 million for our institution, then all the other sports would just fall in line because we can help them do more things X, Y, Z. Mm-hmm. But it may not place them in a situation where they can be competitive. But I guess money can help you be competitive. I guess that's the big thing. Because they're paying coaches $112.5 million.
Right.
We're looking at you, Kirby Smart.
They don't have players though.
I'm very curious.
NIL.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm very curious to see also, I'm sure nobody's interested in this but me and maybe you guys on the screen, but I'm very curious to see academically what all this realignment is going to emerge as it relates to the other sports. Because can you imagine being in the Big 12 and you attend UCLA and in a week you play for the soccer team and you got to travel to Rutgers for a soccer game and then go over to Maryland, then come back? Because basically if you're going that way, you got to go that way and
Hey,
I guess stay relatively for a while. You can't be going back and forth. So are you taking all online classes?
That happens. That's what people can do, but
Yeah.
that is where the money covers. They feel like if they have that extra whatever they're getting the from the universe, I mean from the conference, that they can afford to be able to take care of that situation. Soccer team going to stay a week and a half somewhere to compete because they don't want to keep flying back and forth. So
I mean,
I
that
think
stuff is
that's
I can remember a time, and it's just when Louisville women they played at UConn, then they had to play Boston College, so they went up to Boston, and then they played at North Carolina, and then went down to North Carolina. Then they had then they flew back, so they were I mean taking 3 games. They was probably gone for a good week, and so that stuff already happens.
yeah.
Fascinating stuff, my friends. I guess we're at the place now where we're headed out of the dog days of summer and into now some yeah, for sure. Now into some meaningful conversations that are on the field. So I guess starting next week we'll start to get into some preview stuff and start looking at some of the what's happening with in the ACC as it relates to some of the teams. As it relates to football and what's going down and some of the other sports that are coming down the pike. But like this, again, this conference alignment thing has been really fascinating. And you just wonder where is this going? What is the end game? We know it's money, but what does that unfold to look like? And are we ultimately, it feels like to me, and I think Kendrick said it as well last week, it feels like the NCAA has just been wheeled into the ICU and they better figure out what's wrong. The diagnosis better be solid and right. Because if they don't come out with some viable, real options to offer these conferences, I think the NCAA is on the outside looking in of all of this at some point.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Shout out to you, Mark Emmert. Good luck with all this.
He's leaving.
Oh, that's right. This is not his problem. You're right. This is not his problem. He's like, well, good luck with all. So he said, shout out to you, NCAA. This is not my issue. I'm getting out.
He's cleaning. He's cleaning the burning house.
Listen, that's what Charles Barkley says all the time. When the house is on fire, get the women and children out. He's George Costanza. He gets out first. All right. What you guys got? You guys got any shout outs that you want to give? We've already given Charlie the biggest shout out for his tour de force performance in the Heisman House. But do we have any other shout outs we want to give? Shout out to the original Mr. Charlie Ward, the reason why we are able to have this broadcast. Shout out to him.
Shout out to all the Omega Bros that's here. And we're at the Conclave in Charlotte, North Carolina. I don't know how many, I've seen a lot here, but I'm sure there'll be plenty more once we hit the convention center. So
now,
can we get a Q dog bark from you?
Have you ever Q dog barked? Have you ever done that?
No.
That doesn't feel like a Charlie Ward thing to do.
That's not.
Like I just cannot see Charlie Ward. Either Charlie Ward. I can't see either Charlie Ward barking at anybody.
My dad's involved. He's in it.
Does he go all in?
Yeah.
With the gold boots and everything? Is he gold booted up?
No.
Okay.
I ain't doing all that now.
I need to see Charlie in a purple shirt, camo pants, and some gold boots, and a bucket.
I won't lie to you. I'd pay big money for that.
Yes, throw it
I'd
up.
pay big money for that picture. If any of you who are watching are in the wherever the Omega Conclave is, and you can catch Charlie Ward in his Omega pants and shirt, please get that picture and send it to me immediately. I really appreciate that.
I'm going to get some paraphernalia though this trip.
See, the fact that you even said paraphernalia is mind boggling to me right now. I'm completely blown away, but I'm here for it though. I'm totally here for it.
Are you any of your famous cute old brothers there, like say Shaq or anybody like that?
Yes, they're here. They're getting honored, I think, at a well, they have a session for, I think, a few of the guys. I think Michael Jordan, Shaq. So I'm gonna go and stand in the back and wave, say hey, hello, hey, how you doing? Can I get an autograph?
You got to throw up the cute outside at least one time in a picture.
Yeah, if they actually throw the sign, you got to throw the sign in the picture though, Charlie.
I'll do that.
Yeah, you got to throw your hooks up, bro.
I can see Charlie being the one that, you know how they take those pictures, they like look it up. I ain't gonna lie, I laugh every time I see your cute dog brothers doing that. It's hilarious.
Like, what are they looking at? I don't know what they're looking at, but okay. Well, shout out to the conclave. Anybody else, Charlie?
Shout out to all the fraternities and sororities.
Absolutely. It seemed like everybody was having their conclave or
Houlet
or something this week. My wife has been on cloud 9 all week because I think the Zetas brought in what's her name from Different World. Don Lewis is now is now a Zeta. So
okay.
He's like, that's a great selection. I said, yeah, Don Lewis is a class act. She's a class act. So yeah, so I like it.
Is she in LA still?
I didn't know she was in LA. Are you good friends with Don Lewis, Charlie? Is that where we're headed? No,
And that was a Charlie Ward humble flex.
I had no idea she was in LA. I'm not aware of her.
Call it D.
Good friend of the family, huh, Charlie?
No.
Hilarious. Oh my goodness.
No, she came and helped me out with celebrity basketball.
There it is.
Deal I did back in the day.
In
my hometown.
Okay. I guess I felt like there was some connection. I did.
Who else was in that basketball tournament, Charlie?
Quite a few guys.
Like I said, Charlie, if you take this bait, we taught you nothing on this show. We taught you absolutely
quite a few people that you probably know.
Well played, Charlie Ward. Well played. Well played.
That will remain nameless.
There you go.
It's nothing but a Google search.
Google wasn't going on back then, so.
Kenny, do you have any shout outs that you need to give out today?
Shout out to the Louisville Sports Commission. They asked me to MC their Hall of Fame coming up next month. So shout out to them.
Nice.
MC that. So I'm looking forward to that. Super excited about that.
You're MCing the Hall of Fame ceremony. Is that what I heard you say? Okay, great.
And that was a humble flex.
Anybody can get it.
I'm not in the Hall of Fame. I'm just me.
But you're MCing it, and you're MCing it because you're Sportscaster of the Year. You don't think I know why you're MCing it? You've been in Louisville a long time, Kendrick. And all of a sudden now you're the MC. No. I see what's going on here.
I just didn't even. That's all I did.
Charlie, I just want you to realize it's an equal opportunity show. That's all I'm trying to do.
I appreciate that.
You did a whole show flexing on me.
That is true. That is also true. What you said there. That's cool, man. That's great. Glad you guys are getting those opportunities. Me, I'm just holed up with my wonderful 98-year-old grandmother. Shout out to her. A shout out to her wonderful caregiver, Miss Gina, who I've watched do an amazing job. I'm thrilled that she has taken such good care of my grandmother. So that's I'm proud to have seen her work. She's very good at what she does. So
Good.
So there you go. I think that's all I got. You guys got anything else? Are we good?
That's all I got.
All right. Well, listen, you have been listening to Believe in the ACC or watching Believe in the ACC if you're on Facebook and YouTube. This is the host of the Louisville Hall of Fame and Sportscaster of the Year, Kendrick Haskins. That is the Omega Man himself, Charlie Ward, fresh out the Heisman house and a state championship that he coached in the state of Florida. I'm Lloyd Spence, high on love. We're having a wonderful time this week, and I hope you stay cool wherever you are. Stay cool. It's hot all over America. Stay cool. And so, one last thing. Want to give a shout out to the guy who created the Popcorn World theme and many other themes for a lot of our shows. Shake Anderson, who is recovering from surgery. Sending him our thoughts and love. Brother, get well soon. We can't wait to see you get back and up on your feet. Get on out that hospital so we can get back to doing the work that we've been doing. So all love to you, brother. And with that, we will see you later. Peace. You've been listening to Believe in the ACC with Charlie Ward, Lloyd Spence, and Kendrick Haskins. Please like, follow, subscribe, and share from the Noisemakers page on Facebook and on YouTube. And you can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, and wherever podcasts can be heard.